Good evening and welcome to this month's edition of Rural America Live with AARP. I'm Christina Loren, and we also welcome in our listeners joining us on Rural Radio, Sirius XM Channel 147. Now, whether you're planning for retirement, counting down the days, or already retired, chances are you're wondering if you have or will have enough money saved to last a lifetime. Now, experts recommend using several sources to support your retirement, including savings, Social Security, and working when possible. Tonight, we're going to explore all of those options, and we have a very special guest who will answer your Social Security questions directly. And we want you to join the conversation tonight. Our question of the month is, how important is Social Security to you and your family? And we're giving away a Yeti cooler to 4 lucky on-air callers tonight. So if you are caller number 1, 4, 7, or 10, you will be a winner. We want to hear from you, so give us a call. The number is 877-283-7570. Again, that number, if you want to grab a pen, 877-283-7570. Now, you don't need to be over the age of 50 or a member of AARP to win. As a friendly reminder, you can only win one time each calendar year. Joining us tonight is Sean Voskuil, AARP State Director for Oklahoma, and Sam Wilson, State Director for Wisconsin. Welcome back to the show, gentlemen.
Great to see you again.
It's always good to be here.
Oh, we have a lot to unpack tonight when it comes to Social Security.
Sure do.
Kind of a heavy topic.
It is, and there's a lot of individual cases that I'm sure people are going to have questions about. The good thing is we have a 30-year expert around Social Security to answer some of those questions. So we're excited to have him come on board and answer those questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, call and call early and often.
Early, often, and even with specific questions.
Sure.
So he's prepared to take those tonight.
You know, Social Security was never meant to be the only source of retirement income for Americans, but unfortunately for most of them, it has become that main source. And if we think about rural America, I mean, farmers and ranchers really don't have the access to a traditional pension or 401ks. So, and they may be in situations where they're maybe land rich and cash poor.
Yep.
And so, you know, I think that the importance of Social Security to rural America can't be understated, and making sure that you know when to take those benefits and maximize the benefits of Social Security for you is extremely important.
Yeah, and people are living longer these days as well. We're seeing a lot of advances in medicine that's keeping people older these days. So we really want to make sure that you have enough money that you can continue to enjoy your retirement, not having to worry about running out of cash after you stop working.
Yep.
All right, I think the best place to start tonight is to look at some of the misconceptions about Social Security. Sam, why don't you kick us off?
Well, let me start by asking this, Christina. Do you know what your full retirement age is when it comes to Social Security?
I do, but I know many people who don't.
Well, that's true, right? So there was a Nationwide Retirement Institute survey that came out recently, and it talked about, so what's the knowledge base for people about when they can get Social Security? So we're going to give you a few of those tidbits that were pulled out of there. Well, fortunately, you were in the majority of knowing when your full retirement age, but according to that survey, fewer than a quarter of older adults know their full retirement age. And, you know, for most people, certainly who are born today, 67 is going to be that full retirement age, but as you know, that's been slowly going up from 65 to 67, so people need to be aware of that. Also, you know, people believe that they're going to be eligible for benefits a lot sooner than they actually are. And when you go through that and you ask folks, you know, on average, future retirees, and when we talk about future retirees, this survey in specific talked about people getting closest to actually taking Social Security. So between, you know, 40 and 64 roughly. But they believe they're eligible for full benefits at age 63, about a full 3 years before they actually were eligible to get those benefits. So there is certainly a knowledge gap that exists today between people's knowing when and how to get their Social Security benefits and when the actual time is that they kick in. Sean has some amazing facts as well that he wants to share.
You know, knowledge is really important to make those informed decisions about Social Security. And, you know, the more knowledge and education you have, hopefully the better choices you make. And with the importance of Social Security and the amount of money that could be available to you, it's important to be aware of that. And so our research, we've learned several things. Nearly half of future retirees, so those between 10 to 15 years from retirement, are not aware that Social Security offers guaranteed income for life. So, once you start at your retirement age, you're guaranteed that income for life.
Wow.
60% don't know the benefits are protected against inflation. And many folks have heard about a COLA, or a cost of living adjustment. And every year, except for two, Social Security has received a COLA increase. So that helps, again, against the increased cost for cost of living. And that's why then COLA is so important to Social Security beneficiaries. 4 in 10 are unaware of survivor benefits. So while everyone thinks that Social Security is retirement, just for retirement, survivor benefits is also important, as well as dependent and disability. And last, about 40% don't know that divorced spouses may be eligible for benefits. So again, these are some critical parts to Social Security that folks may not be aware of. So good to know.
Absolutely. It's also interesting that Social Security is not a constant. It's something that has changed in the past, and it will continue to change, which is why it's so great that we have an expert tonight to talk through us, because this is a complicated system and everybody has their own unique individual questions.
Sure. Yeah, and the great thing, though, is while it does require one to know a few things about their own individual case, the one constant for retirement security in our country since 1935 has been Social Security. So pensions have come and gone, 401ks have been created, and a lot of other tools to save, but that bedrock has always been Social Security.
It has, and it still has a lot of questions, though. You think about the baby boomers right now, they're getting into retirement. And so is there going to be enough money for me when I retire is a question you often hear from millennials. So
you said earlier that people are living longer. So, people continuing working beyond the retirement age is becoming the norm as well. So knowing how that impacts your Social Security benefits is extremely important to know, and we'll talk about those.
All right, we're going to talk about how the Social Security Administration determines benefit amount. So there is a lot to unpack tonight. We sure are glad that you're with us. We know that we already have callers who are anxious to ask a question, but first, we need to take a quick break. When we come back, special guest Webb Phillips, who spent over 30 years at the Social Security Administration, he's going to join us, and he's looking forward to taking your calls. Remember, you're a big part of this show, and we want to hear from you tonight. Give us a call at 877-283-7570. Again, that's 877-283-7570. More Rural America Live with AARP right after this.
What better way to get someone's Social Security number than by pretending to be from Social Security? Here are 4 ways you can keep your Social Security number out of the sticky hands of ID thieves. Number 1, hang up if someone calls you out of the blue and claims to be from the Social Security Administration. Number 2, be skeptical if a caller claims to be an officer with the Inspector General of Social Security. Scammers love official sounding and actual government titles to make things seem authentic. Number 3, set up a My Social Security account online and check it monthly for signs of anything unusual, even if you're not receiving benefits. Number 4, install a robocall blocking app on your smartphone or sign up for a robocall blocking service from your mobile network provider. For more tips on how to keep your ID info from scammers, go to aarp.org/FraudWatchNetwork and make sure to tune in to RFD-TV the 3rd Thursday of each month for Rural America Live with AARP.
How did you factor Social Security into your retirement plan?
I have a very good pension fund because I was union, and I realized that Social Security would be a portion of my retirement fund, but not the main part.
I don't suspect that it's going to sustain me, so I have a couple of other savings plans that I pay into and I don't touch it.
We're saving to make sure we have enough so we don't become financially stressed down the road.
The best budget advice is to expect the unexpected. Make sure you have money set aside so that if something comes up that's unexpected, you've got the money. Doesn't mean you should stop having fun or living life, but you have to have money behind you so it doesn't devastate you at the wrong time.
Welcome back to Rural America Live with AARP, Social Security and you. That's our topic tonight, and we want you to join the conversation. Give us a call at 877-283-7570. Do you have a question about how the system works or how you can maximize your benefits? Maybe you have a story to share. If so, we'd love to hear from you. The phone lines are open, 877-283-7570. And we're giving away a Yeti cooler to 4 lucky on-air callers tonight. Callers number 1, 4, 7, and 10. So pick up the phone and give us a call. You could just be a winner tonight. Joining us once again is Sean Voskuhl, AARP State Director for Oklahoma, and Sam Wilson, State Director for Wisconsin. And now we bring in Webb Phillips, Senior Policy Analyst for the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare. Welcome to the show, Webb.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
We're really happy you're with us. Now, your lengthy experience with the Social Security Administration makes you the perfect guest for tonight's show. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I grew up on a farm in southern Illinois and began working with Social Security after I got the hay out of my hair and, and had finished military service back during the Vietnam War. And started to work in Alton, Illinois, worked in Rock Island, Illinois, and then eventually was hired to work in the agency's headquarters in Baltimore.
Wow. Well, what's great about having you on and your farming background is you're really going to be able to relate to the questions that our callers have for you tonight. Speaking of which, what's the number one question that you hear about when it comes to Social Security?
Well, it may just be the sign of the times because we're told that there's 10,000 baby boomers who retire every day. But the questions that we get most often is, when should I file for Social Security benefits? If I can get benefits on my own record or my spouse's record? That kind of question comes over and over again in different ways and different shapes, but it's always seems to be these days a question about when should I file for benefits.
You know, just to kind of set the stage for tonight, talk about when you can start accepting versus full retirement age.
Well, you can file for retirement benefits as early as age 62. The benefit that you receive at age 62 is a reduced benefit, and these days it's reduced by 25%. And that's going to rise a little bit as we phase the retirement age from 66 to 67. For people whose retirement age is 67, they're going to take a 30% reduction in their Social Security benefit. And that's a really big hit.
Yep.
And if you just wait a year or 2 or 3 or 4, you can really make that benefit bigger than it will be if you take the reduced benefits at age 62.
Okay. All right. We're just getting started tonight, and we already have our phones lining up. We have lots of callers waiting to ask questions or tell their story, so let's go straight there. Again, the number to call is 877-283-7570. And just a reminder, if you are a winner tonight, AARP will get in contact with you and let you know about how you can get that Yeti cooler. They'll ship it to you. They'll cover the shipping. So good luck, everybody. Our first caller is our first winner, Joe from Kansas. Thanks for joining the conversation. Go right ahead.
Yes, my question is, what's the advantages to retiring at age 62 or disadvantages?
Well, that's a really good question. I mean, a lot of people file for benefits at age 62. Somewhere in the order of 30, it's the most popular retirement age. 34% of people who file for benefits do so at age 62. A lot of reasons. They hate their job. They can't do it any longer. They don't like their boss, you name it. And their body may be wearing out. Yeah. You know, at 62, you know, you're getting past the stage where you can do hard physical labor, or is very demanding. So the benefit of taking the retirement benefit at age 62 is you have the money. The disadvantage is that it's a very substantial reduction in the amount that you're going to get. It's a permanent reduction, and it's going to last your lifetime.
Okay, thank you for that call. Congratulations on winning that Yeti cooler. They are really nice. Joe from Kansas, appreciate that. Next up, we have Karen from Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining the conversation, Karen. Go right ahead.
Hello. My question is about collecting a widower's benefit. I'm 56 right now. I'll probably retire. I'm hoping. I love my job, so I'll probably retire when I'm 67, 65 maybe. But my ex-husband has passed away. He has not remarried. When am I entitled to file for widowers' benefits?
That's a really good question. Widows' benefits can start as early as age 60, actually early as age 50 if you're disabled. But since you've indicated that you're planning to continue working until you're well into your 60s, that's obviously not the situation. But all that is required is that you also not be remarried at the time that you apply for the benefit. So there shouldn't be any problem with your getting it. The fact that your former husband himself did not qualify for Social Security benefits isn't a relevant factor in determining how much money you could get as a widow.
All right, thanks for the call, Karen. We're going to go to Teresa from Iowa now. Go right ahead, Teresa, and thanks for joining us.
Hi. My question is, I have been disabled since 2003, but I wasn't approved for Social Security benefits until 2005. So now I am 61. So does my money change when I reach 65, or does it stay the same, or does my status change from disability to retirement? I'm not real sure about that.
That is a very good question, and one that we hear often. Basically, the amount of your benefit will remain unchanged, but you will change, the classification will change from a disabled individual to a retired person. Other than that, it's purely an accounting consideration so that your benefits would be paid for by the Old Age and Survivors Trust Fund rather than by the Disability Insurance Trust Fund.
So the amount of that benefit stays the same?
That's right. That's right. The benefit amount itself remains unchanged.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for that call, Teresa. Next, we're going to go to Michigan to our next winner, Paul. Thanks for joining the conversation. Congratulations. Go right ahead.
Yes. I retired at 65, and I got bored of sitting around, so I went back to work, and I'm paying back into Social Security again. Like I say, everything was set at 65. Being I'm back working, does that prorate increase my Social Security monthly? Being I'm back working and paying into it is the question I have.
Again, a very good question. Your audience has some excellent questions about Social Security. When you return to work after you've retired and you start having wages paid to you and they get reported to the Social Security Administration, they will be taken into account in figuring your benefit. The exact answer as to whether there will be an increase depends on your work history. If you have gaps in your earnings and you have fewer than 35 years with covered earnings in them, then the work that you do after retirement might well lead to an increase in your in the amount of your Social Security benefit. I'm not quite sure whether you retired before you got to your full retirement age, but that also might be a factor that might increase your benefit.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. That leaves a line open for you. 877-283-7570 is the number to call. Again, that's 877-283-7570. All right, our next caller is Kate from Colorado. Thanks for joining the conversation. Go right ahead.
Yes, hi. I am calling to find out. I am going to be turning 66 here in a few months, and I have retired. I retired a couple of years ago. My husband is retired. He retired when he was 69. And my question is, would I benefit from taking his spousal Social Security? Or would I benefit from taking my own?
That's a good question. You say that you're turning 66 shortly, which suggests to me that you became 62 prior to January the 1st, 2016. And if that's the case, then you could choose to apply for either the benefit on your own record or the benefit on your husband's record, and then save the other one until, usually it would be your work record. Save that until you're 70 so that you can have it grow through what are known as delayed retirement credits. That's 8% a year that your benefit could grow if you did delay your claiming for your retirement benefit until that time.
So tell us, Webb, a little bit about the significance of the date you mentioned so that people understand when you're referencing that date, what happened and why is that important for people doing their planning?
Good question. The date is relevant because the Congress changed the law. For most of the history of the Social Security program, if you waited until you were at your full retirement age and you were eligible on 2 records, you could pick the one that you wanted to file on and maximize the amount of the benefit on the other record. The Congress changed the rules in 2015, and so now if you were born after January the 1st, if you reach age 62 after January the 1st, 2016, then if you apply for a benefit, doesn't matter which one it is, the Social Security folks are going to deem that you applied for both benefits.
Oh, tricky.
So the key is try to get paid on the higher amount, whether it's your spouse
or you.
Depends on your, I guess, work record and the amount that was paid in.
That's right.
Okay.
And that was the idea. Take the spousal benefit now and wait until you're 70 to file for your retirement benefit.
Gotcha.
And that was characterized over on Capitol Hill as a loophole, and they closed it up.
Ooh. All right. Sean from Kansas, you are our next caller. Go right ahead.
Yes, I'm 60 and considering retiring here in a few years. I understand that $17,500 is the maximum that you can earn without affecting your Social Security benefit. If I would cash rent out my farm, does rent of a farm apply against your Social Security benefit? And that's all I have, and thank you.
That's a good farm question.
Yes.
When I was a claims rep in Alton, Illinois, there had a lot of farmers from the southern part of the state of Illinois who would come to the office to file their claims, and that would be a frequent question. The factor that's relevant in deciding whether the income that you receive as rent on your farm is whether you're actually renting it or whether you're still
living there.
The word is material participation. You have to be working the farm in some significant way, and maybe you're, but it's all very fact specific. But in general, if it's truly rental income and you've retired and you're no longer managing the farm or playing a significant role in its management, then it would not count towards that 17,600 figure that you mentioned.
So it's passive income.
It would not.
It would not.
It would not.
Interesting.
But it's all very fact specific. If you are the sole proprietor of a farm, and you come to the Social Security office and you say, I'm renting it out, I'm not doing anything, they'll probably ask you a bunch of questions about who is and what's the relationship between you. If it's your son that's renting the farm now, not a problem, but it would turn on exactly what your role, if any, is in the management of the farm.
But tax-wise, there would be.
Well, tax-wise,
income.
You'd report that on, I believe it's a Schedule R, and it would be part of your taxable income.
Yeah. Income tax, right.
Right.
Yeah, you have to wonder about what other passive income you have to consider as well in that situation when it comes to Social Security. Very good. We are getting all the great questions tonight. Impressed with you, rural America. Okay, next up we have Jill from Tennessee, and she is our next winner. Go right ahead, Jill.
Okay. I have a question about my husband's Social Security. He actually, what the paper they send you every year stating what you'll draw, how much you draw, then they take the insurance, blah, blah, and all down the line until they tell you how much you'll actually draw or be deposited in the bank. Okay, his comes up short about $14 every month of that amount. So I called them and talked to them, and they say, well, you know, he was penalized for not taking Part B, Medicare Part B, to start with. And I said, okay, you know, I understand that. They told him, you know, he would be. But then they told me to call the insurance. He has prescription insurance through Medicare also. So I called him. And they told me, look, he was never penalized. So there should be no penalty. All we can tell you is that we owe $53 out for his prescription plan per month, I'm sorry. And so I don't get any answers. I guess my question is, who else do I call other than that to get an answer for where this $14 goes?
Well, that's a tough question. The Social Security Administration calculates the amount of the penalty. That would not be done by your insurance company. So I would have to say that, you know, the ball is in the Social Security Administration's court, and that you should continue to try to work with them to get an explanation that is more satisfactory than the one that you've gotten. These offices are very short-staffed these days, and sometimes questions like that don't rise to the immediate top of the pile. But you should persist with Social Security to get an explanation from them on the discrepancy that you've described.
Every dollar counts.
That's right.
Every single dollar counts. Okay, next up we have Willie from Louisiana. Thanks for joining us, Willie. Go right ahead.
Yes, my question is, on a widower or widow, if they remarry, is there any time that they can remarry and not lose a spouse's benefits?
After age 60. If you marry after age 60, then that remarriage does not have any effect on your benefit. If you marry before age 60, then you can't get the benefit until you become unmarried?
Good question, Will. We appreciate the call. And that leaves a line open for you, 877-283-7570. We're going to go back to the phones in just a moment. But I want to talk a little bit about the future of Social Security, because this is a pretty hot debate topic. We hear a lot about it. What do you know? What can you tell us about the future of Social Security?
Well, if you read the trustees' report that was published earlier this year for 2018, the actuaries project that Social Security has a shortfall, and that the shortfall will be essentially covered over by the trust funds that the program has accumulated. It's about $2.9 trillion, and that assures the payment of benefits, 100% of the benefits, up through 2035. The problem is what happens after 2035, and the actuaries further project that at that time, the agency will have the money to pay 80% of benefits. Well, it's kind of hard to imagine what you say to 80 million, because that's how many people are going to be getting benefits in 2035. 80 million people, you're going to say, well, folks, you know, we just don't have the money, so we're going to cut your benefits. And it seems, to me, it seems likely that the Congress is going to behave the way that it always has with regard to Social Security, and they will work it out, and the benefits will continue to be paid.
Okay.
I don't think I'm being an optimist, or rather, overly Pollyanna-ish, I guess is what I want to say. I think this is going to happen. It's just, it's difficult. It's hard to work out the compromises that are essential in reaching this kind of a conclusion.
Yeah, anything could happen to the economy between now and then as well. So there's a lot of things, a lot of wheels in motion there. But that's interesting that you do believe that Congress will find a way to make up for that shortfall.
And Christina, you talk about the economy, the impact of the economy. You know, Webb's, everything he said was absolutely right about the solvency date and the 20% across the board cut for benefits. To give you a sense of how big of an economic impact Social Security is, it puts in nearly $1 trillion every year into the United States economy. Congress not only has a vested interest in individually solving this issue for, you know, our great Americans in the United States, but also for the economy, because you do not remove $200 billion from the economy without there being some impact. And as we all know, where do Social Security beneficiaries spend that money? They spend it in Main Street, they spend it in our restaurants, you know, and so that I'm equally optimistic as Webb that Congress, sometimes they do their best work when the deadlines come.
Under pressure.
And so let's all remain optimistic that that's what's going to repeat this time around.
And just to play on what you said, Sam, the economists estimate that there's a multiplier effect on that $1 trillion of about 1.5. So it's really, the economic effect is really more on the order of about $1.5 trillion. Yeah. And you're right, in the small communities where folks live and buy things and pay for things, this is a lifeline not just for rural America, but for the entire country. Yep. So it's just really hard to imagine that, as you put it, they're going to pull $200 billion out of this program.
Let's not wait till 2035 to make those changes.
Yes. Well, wouldn't that be nice?
And seriously, I mean, there's been modifications to the program for several times, and it's been bipartisan. And if we make small changes now, then we're making sure it's solvent for future generations, so they don't have to take a cut of 20% to their promised benefits past 2035.
Okay, well, this certainly is a lively discussion. We're going to take a short break. We have to do it. I'm sorry. When we come back, though, we will give away our final Yeti cooler for tonight. The phone lines are open. 877-283-7570 is the number. We still have time for your call. More Rural America Live with AARP next.
If you were to take Social Security early, why would you do it?
I'm going to wait until I'm 70 because I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that. And I also think that, 8% a year of an increase on, that benefit is hard to get in other financial investments.
I actually took it maybe a year earlier than I intended because I had a parent who was very sick and I had to retire to spend time. But to take it early for any type of financial reason, to me, wouldn't have been valid, no.
I have Social Security disability, so didn't mean to take it early. Things happen in life.
The only way I would have taken Social Security early was if I had a health issue for which I didn't have appropriate coverage to care for myself.
Some kind of catastrophe is the only reason why we would take it out early. We've already planned for him to take it out at age 70.
I didn't take Social Security early. I didn't take it till I had to at 70. I didn't retire till I was 73.
Medical identity theft is when someone uses your personal information to obtain medical benefits under your name. Here are 4 ways to protect that information. Don't jump on offers of free health services or products, especially if you're asked to provide your Medicare or health plan number. Don't provide medical or insurance information over the phone or in an email unless you initiated the communication. Don't answer questions from a caller who says he or she is conducting a health survey and needs your Medicare or insurance number. And don't give your insurance information to a family member or friend, even if it's to help them get treatment. It's considered fraud against medical providers and insurers. For more tips on how to keep your medical ID from scammers, go to aarp.org/FraudWatchNetwork. And make sure to tune in to RFD-TV the 3rd Thursday of each month for Rural America Live with AARP.
Welcome back to Rural America Live with AARP. We want to help you get around the roadblocks to retirement. And tonight we're talking about Social Security and you. We've had a lot of great calls so far, and there's still time for you to join the conversation. The number is 877-283-7570. Let's go straight to the phones. Dwayne from Texas, you are our next caller. Go right ahead.
Hello, am I on?
You're on, Dwayne. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, this is Dwayne Schultz from San Antonio, Texas. My question is, I'm 83 years old and I'm retired from the military, and I knew I would have Social Security. But instead of just stopping, I went to college and I went to work for civil service. So after I put in my 20 years in civil service and I retired with a pension, then once it comes with a pension, Social Security jumps in and docks me because I have a pension. If anyone, even the police department, if you use the word pension, you are going to lose some of your Social Security. But if you have the word retirement, you do not lose your Social Security. So why have they stepped in with the word pension and grabbed your Social Security?
Well, I'm feeling sympathy with you because my Social Security benefit has also been docked in the manner that you described. Basically, what we're talking about, I believe, is the windfall elimination provision, which got enacted, I believe, in 1984. It was effective in 1984, and basically what they say is that if you have a pension that's based on non-covered earnings, then we're going to use a different benefit formula to calculate the amount of your Social Security benefit, and it can be significantly lower. There's an annual dollar cap that it can be reduced, but in any event, no more than 50%. But it's a real whack, and it comes as a surprise, I believe, to people when they file for retirement, because they get these statements annually from Social Security telling them how much they're going to get. But if you go read the fine print on the statement, you'll find out that they're going to say, well, but if you have a pension based on non-covered earnings, well, then the estimate that we're giving you is not accurate. Well, who reads the fine print?
Right.
So it always comes as a surprise, and it seems to us that it's not right. It shouldn't be a surprise. People should be able to plan for their retirement and not have an unpleasant a surprise at the end that your benefit is going to be less than what we were telling you it was going to be. So we think this is a bad proposal. It ought to be repealed. If it can't be repealed, it ought to be fixed so that it works better.
All right.
Is that now? It applies to certain pensions. So is it more state government and could be teachers if their employer didn't pay into the Social Security payroll tax, or am I a little bit off there?
No, you're absolutely right. It's exclusively state employees these days, because federal employees were mandatorily covered by Social Security at the same time that this provision went into effect.
Okay.
So if you were hired in January 1st, 1984 and later to work for the federal government, then you're covered by Social Security. Gotcha. But there are about 14 states, I believe, and don't ask me to name them, please, that continue to have retirement programs, usually for teachers, but not always. Sometimes it's entire state workforces where they're not paying into Social Security. And then the employees, when they file for Social Security benefit, discover this thing called WEP, and it always comes as a surprise and an unpleasant one.
But if they have 30 years into Social Security, they could still then get a...
It is possible, you're absolutely right, if they have 30 years of what are called substantial earnings in covered employment, then that phases out the reduction that you experienced when they used the WEP formula.
Yeah, thank you.
But it sounds like since Congress passed the change, it would take an act of Congress in order to get rid of it as well.
That's right. That's right. And there are a number of bills that have been introduced in the 116th Congress that proposed to essentially repeal the WEP. They generally haven't prospered, put it that way.
Okay, we're going to go back to the phones. Tessa from Texas, you are our next caller. Go right ahead, Tessa.
Hi, thank you. My question as a millennial would be how your advice, first of all, on how I can expect for my family to plan for retirement in terms of Social Security versus just planning independently through 401ks and IRAs. And I know you all touched on this prior to the break, but I would like to further discussion by pointing out that Social Security pulls from payroll taxes and that the future of AI indicates that we might not have such a strong future for my generation, and what your advice would be going forward from there.
That's a good question. Not quite sure that I am.
Artificial intelligence.
I know what it means. I'm just not sure what the implications are in the future because, you know, we can't all not work. I mean, whether that leads to different kinds of jobs for people, we don't know. But I think that if you're planning for the future, you're doing what you need to do if you're using a 401k to save for your own retirement. If there's any certainty in life, it's the money that you have, and I believe the Social Security benefit that you will qualify when you apply for it. We all here are no longer millennials or never were. We're well past that stage in life, but I believe that we're all committed and devoted to the notion of protecting Social Security to make sure that it's not just available for people today, but that it's available for people who retire in the future.
And Tessa, the notion of retirement security doesn't change for millennials any more than it does for me, which is a Gen Xer, or you know, somebody who's just being born today, and their parents are starting to think of what kind of retirement security they can provide them. We used to think of it as a three-legged stool, and so you've got Social Security is one of the legs of the stool. You have your 401ks and pensions as another leg of the stool, although pensions, have dramatically decreased as far as availability in the workplace. And then savings, any personal savings or any assets that you grow during your lifetime. So when you think about what's the formula for you to prepare yourself and your family for retirement, you really have to think of those three things, of having each one of those being a strong leg of the stool in order for you to plan for your own retirement. Social Security was never intended to be the full retirement income for anyone, even when the program was first started. And so the sooner, and it's great that you as a millennial are already starting to think about this, the sooner you start building up those other legs of the stool, the better, because as my economics professor used to say, the power of compound interest is the greatest power in the universe. Right. And so save now and get all that savings in that you can.
Absolutely. The earlier, the better. I admire your spirit, Tessa, and you are a winner, by the way. Congratulations on that Yeti cooler.
All right.
We're going to go to Cindy now. Thanks for joining the conversation. Go right ahead, Cindy.
Hi, I'm from South Dakota, and the reason I was calling is that I'm getting close to being of age to apply for Social Security, but I was a stay-at-home mom, a farm and ranch situation, and I understand I can get the same of what my husband receives, but I wondered if there was any way I could improve what my possible benefits might be.
Well, you'll certainly be able to qualify for benefits on your husband's Social Security record. While he's still with you, it would be 50% of what he's getting, his full retirement age benefit. And if you waited until you were at your full age, retirement age, that would be 50%. If you, it's kind of hard. I assume the situation here is that the husband was the sole proprietor on the farm, so he had all the self-employment earnings from the farm, which leaves his wife with no covered earnings of her own other than what she might have picked up. It's difficult at the later stages in life to make a significant difference in the amount of your Social Security benefit by going to work. It will change, and you will see an increase, but you might be in the situation where the amount of your spousal benefit is greater than anything that you could get on your own retirement.
Would it benefit her then if her husband waited till 70, or if she waited till 70 years of age?
No,
or not at all. Okay.
If she's she said she's going to file as a spouse,
well,
and there's no point in waiting if you're not eligible for a benefit of your own, or if the amount of your benefit is smaller than your spousal benefit.
Gotcha.
Filing at age 66 or your full retirement age is the better option.
Just COLA increase would be really the only increase she could maybe see then.
Yes, although, and I don't want to sound grim here,
Yeah,
but
well, it's good to know.
as a widow, she would, of course, get 100% of what her husband is getting.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for that call, Cindy from South Dakota. We sure do appreciate it. We have had a lot of great calls tonight. I believe we're going to wrap up the phone calls at this point and really give you an opportunity to let us know a little bit more about Social Security. How does the Social Security Administration determine benefit amounts?
Well, they look at your earnings history from start to finish. And they look for the 35 highest years that are on your Social Security record. And they basically average the earnings for those 35 years. And then they use the benefit formula to relate the earnings to the benefit amount. I won't try to explain. I used to teach training classes at the Social Security Administration. This was a 2-week block of instruction on how to figure the benefit. But it's basically based on your average lifetime earnings over the 35 highest years of your working history.
And there is a cap, right? There's a maximum.
Yes, there has been a cap on the amount of wages that are covered by Social Security since the beginning of the program. It was $1,000 initially back in 1935. It's $132,900. I'll get that out yet. And yeah, it's gone up quite a bit. It covers less than 90% of payroll, though. That's a problem. One of the contributing problems to financing the program is that the taxable maximum has been sort of vitiated because wage growth has skewed so much for higher earning people, and that those higher earners don't pay tax on the amount of their earnings that are in excess of the tax max.
Okay. Well, what a night. A lot of great calls. You even got hit with an AI call. Did you think that was going to happen tonight, Webb?
Hey, I don't have artificial intelligence. I've only got so much of the other varieties still.
Yeah, no, we had some great calls tonight. Sean, AARP has some great dedicated resources for Social Security for people who want to learn more. Yeah. Tell us what's available and where they can find it.
Well, AARP has the AARP Social Security Resource Center, and it's online. And you'll be able to view that if you go to AARP.org/AARP Live. There's great information about eligibility, work and taxes, spouse and children, divorce, a place for frequently asked questions, and really a one-stop shop for information about Social Security and education. In fact, there's an online chat for you to ask questions about Social Security. And so I've spent some time just kind of going through the website, just pulling that information. And so if we couldn't get your question tonight, this may be a good place to look at the Social Security Resource Center and just again, look at all the areas where you can pull down additional information. And I like the online chat where, hey, ask a question of an expert.
That's right. Get an immediate response.
Yeah,
I love that.
Very helpful.
AARPlive.org. Check it out.
/AARP Live.
That's right. AARP.org/AARP Live. In fact, you can see that right there. Right there.
It's a mouthful.
It certainly is. Okay, we only have a few minutes left. Do you have any final thoughts or want to leave our viewers with something to think about tonight? Sam, let's start with you.
Well, one of our earlier callers talked about viewing their Social Security record online, or actually had gotten it in the mail. One of the sort of tips that we ask that people do is you can go to ssa.gov, which is a Social Security Administration website. They have a My SSA portal where you can register and be able to look online at your complete work history. So I looked at it, it was back when I was mowing lawns when I was 14 years old, which really makes me think back. But you can see your entire earnings history. It will also tell you your estimated benefit at different ages as well. It's great just to know if you're still in your working years, you can see it grow. But it's also one way for you to identify fraud early on in case somebody may have applied for Social Security benefits without you knowing. And so you can track that as well. You can at least look at it once a year. You can look at it more often, but it's a great way for people to see those your benefits in the future.
Excellent. And Webb, would you like to leave our viewers with some final thoughts?
I would urge people to become better educated on filing for Social Security benefits. Fewer than 4% of people who apply for benefits wait until age 70 to do so. And that's really too bad, because there's nowhere you can go in our current economy and get an inflation-adjusted 8% return on an annuity or anything else.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you get when you wait until age 70, for each year after your full retirement age and through age 70. So people need to understand the implications of their selection for retirement. We have a website that we would call to folks' attention. It is www.delayandgain.org, and what they'll find there is a lot of useful information about when to file and what the consequences are of filing sooner than you might.
Good advice there. All right, we have had an action-packed show. Social Security, whoever thought it could be so interesting and incite such great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. This show is for you. We really appreciate the experts from AARP joining us each and every month, every third Thursday. For more great retirement resources, I want to give you this website one more time. It's aarp.org/AARP Live. Make sure to join us next month, August 15th, when we share 99 ways to save a lot of money. Want to wish you a beautifully blessed night. Good night from Rural America's most important network.